Welcome to Bloodbath & Beyond. Today we review the psychedelic trip that is Mandy.
Directed by Panos Cosmatos, starring Nicolas Cage, Andrea Riseborough, and Linus Roache. This movie's about Red Miller, a lumberjack who lives in the forest with his wife Mandy, and one night, a religious cult see Mandy, decide to summon demons to kidnap and kill her, and now Red is exacting revenge. Now I know that sounds super spoiler heavy, but that's pretty close to what the synopsis is on IMDb, and that is the plot of this movie, I think. So what do we like? Firstly, this is a very surreal, psychedelic mindfuck of a film. I liked how hallucinogenic it felt. It felt like I was on acid. The whole atmosphere is just trippy as all hell.
To add to the atmosphere, you have this like synthy soundtrack. There's just like this ongoing tone that really messes with your head.
It's all but a beautiful dream.
It's actually like art overload to an extent. Like there's so much stuff being thrown at you. There's lots of symbolism and flashing lights and demons and weird shit, and coupled with the music and everything, there's just a lot of shit happening even when there's nothing happening. So you're just sitting there like, what the actual fuck is happening? And I think that's why Nicolas Cage was a perfect person to be in this movie. He was excellent because he's almost become a meme. Well, he has become a meme and been a meme for years now. And everyone thinks he's just this wild guy. And this is the movie to showcase that. And I think he crushed it.
They were weirdo hippie types. Whole bunch of them. Then there was the muscle. It didn't make any sense. They were bikers and gnarly psychos.
He just goes wild, covered in blood, and you see like the pure white in his eyes and the pure white in his smile. He's just got this maniacal look, but you know he's the good guy. And when he freaks out and you get that Cage rage, it is on point. Speaking of the rage, the practical effects and the kills in this film did look really good. They were impactful in nature, and when someone did die, it felt good because this was a revenge film. When you see Nick Cage hunt his prey and he gets one of them, it's just emotionally and visually satisfying.
Well, mentioning Nick Cage's acting, I thought that everyone else did a pretty solid job as well. Everybody was weird. Even his wife, Mandy. You're like, is she an alien? You just don't really know what's happening, but she was playing a very creepy person. Then you've got Jeremiah, who's this cult leader slash folk legend. He's a musician of some kind.
Well, I'm sorry for all this fuss and muss. But when I saw you, you called out to me.
And even like having Richard Brake in there with his tigers and some of the other people that are part of this cult. They're so creepy and weird, and I think they all nailed what they were supposed to do because they were just strange and they fit this world that was created. And it was a weird world, filled with demons, in fact, that are straight from fucking Hellraiser. These all look like Cenobites. I don't know if they were demons or just tripped out dudes on acid. I had no idea. And I don't think that anybody else is gonna know either.
This film is riddled with symbolism, and you really had to pay attention to see the in-depth meaning that is the overarching story in this film.
We literally just watched it, and it's gonna be hard for me to digest and like figure out what everything was. Like I have some theories about what this movie is, but I think it's way too early for me to discuss because I don't want you fucking yelling at me in the comments like you don't even know what the hell's going on, because there's gonna be an interview tomorrow and everyone's gonna know. Just like Baskin. The comments in Baskin, people are still like freaking out because they're like, oh, you didn't understand this. It's like, no, this is how I understood it right after I watched it. So I'm not even gonna give you the benefit of listening to my thoughts right now. There were things that I think stood for other things, and I can't speak on it at the moment. Perhaps we'll talk about it in a live stream or something. Now is not the time.
You're a vicious snowflake.
I think Elijah Wood is probably sitting back knowing like I've just produced one of the most inspirational movies ever.
There's gonna be so many fan theories about what this is about as well. So I'm really looking forward to all the YouTube videos that are gonna be like ending explained or whole entire movie explained. That's what I need. Now, what didn't we like?
I wasn't necessarily a fan of this story. I felt it took way too long to really get going. We didn't know it was going to be a revenge flick. And you don't know it's going to be a revenge flick until like an hour and a half in. And it's a 2-hour movie. When you're sitting there watching this psychedelic trip, not knowing, is it a horror? Is it a paranormal? Is it a sci-fi? What is actually going on in this movie? And then when you get to that realization, you only got 30 minutes of enjoyment. Because the rest of it is just like, why?
You actually like really don't get anything. You see all these weird hallucinations and dream sequences, or so you think they're dream sequences, and so you don't really know. And I think they're trying to put you in that mind state, but it's really hard to follow. At least for me, for sure. And for as long as it goes on. No exaggeration. I believe it was an hour and 25 minutes or so. That's when Nick snaps and decides to go hunt people. So you literally have the length of an entire movie that we summed up in one sentence, and so does the synopsis, and so did the trailer. Like, everybody knows what this movie is about. We didn't watch the trailer, thankfully. I kind of wish we did, but if I just knew that it was a revenge story, that hour and a half seems a little drawn out for me. They could have trimmed at least half an hour, and it would have flowed a lot better.
Other than just like making Nick Cage a lumberjack, he has this really badass backstory to him, and they include that in the 30-minute revenge plot. Give us some little like teasers, some little hints throughout to make us be like, oh, Nick Cage is actually more badass than he's leading on to be. And if you mess with his wife, you don't want to be on that end.
I think that's part of it though. That just kind of like induces the anger and rage. He's just a normal guy. He didn't have that rage before, I don't think. That's just me. I think that it's just like, oh, this is what you will do if something horrific like this happens to you. So I don't know if we needed that. I think that we needed less of them sitting around telling stories about killing birds, I think. Unless that is in itself is like very symbolic to an extent. Like maybe there's just something here that we have completely missed.
The killing of birds shows like the rough life that Mandy had growing up and where she'll become, tying it all together.
She's the bird in the bag.
And Nicolas Cage is wearing a tiger shirt, and then he sees the tiger, and the tiger is let free, which means he's free to go wild. And it's just like, there's so much going on.
And you don't know if any of it ties together, and you're just like, thinking that's what they mean? I'm gonna bet that not one person knows every single thing that was shown to you. Like, there, even when like a guy's sitting there talking, Jeremiah, he's just sitting there talking, his face slowly becomes Mandy's, and then it flips back to him staring intensely, and then it goes back and forth. And even that's just gonna boggle your mind. And then you start to think like, does this mean something? What does this mean? Is she actually him? Is he in, like, what's going on? Is he absorbing her to some extent? Like, there's all these weird things that you're like, no, probably not, but maybe. This is a weird movie. Weird shit is happening. I have very little answers, and I don't know if you're supposed to, and that's also a little frustrating. So this is not a movie that you can just pop on and think you're gonna have a blast with. Like, I've seen a lot of tweets and a lot of people posting on Facebook like, best movie of 2018. But I don't know that everybody knows what's happening in this movie. It's just like, yeah, it looks flashy, and it does have some great elements, and I think that they built a great world, and I'd love to see more of it, but I don't really know what's happening.
Especially with the bikers. We first see them as, like, potentially demons summoned through an orc arena. And then we find out later on that they're probably just, like, coked out humans.
Well, yeah, they've had a bad batch of LSD.
It still makes you wonder, who exactly are they, and why can't we have an answer? There's no reason we shouldn't have an answer as to what's going on.
We're gonna get voided on this. They're gonna be like, didn't you read Lovecraft? Didn't you read this? It's obviously this kind of style. I don't read audiobooks, guys. And I don't think that's reading, even though people say, oh, I read a book last week. They listen to it. You know, sometimes you just don't even want to talk to the internet because you know there's more of them than you. Did you just say it's not reading? Also, I do have a question about one person who got away. I'm not gonna say who it was, but one person was let go for no apparent reason. And I'm curious, Nick, why? Why? Is this symbolism? I don't know.
It's not like they were innocent.
Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Mandy is a weird movie. It's beautiful looking, it's got an awesome soundtrack, and the environment and atmosphere is incredible. The shots is something completely surreal and strange. And I think it's worth watching, but I don't think it's that great, only because it's very hard to digest. Well, it is decently paced. The intro, basically the intro I'm saying, is the first hour and 20 minutes. It's a little long, to say the least. There's a lot of things that could have been cut out, and I don't know if they were kept in for specific symbolic reasons. It's something that you probably have to watch a couple times to try and pick up on a bunch of different things, and maybe if you have a theory, you go back and watch the movie and try and like build on it, and trying to decipher what actually happened in this. It did have some great practical effects. Nick Cage was awesome, and it's a flashy movie, but I don't know if it's, you know, one of the top 10 movies of 2018 like everybody's saying. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 cheddar goblins out of 5.
For a revenge film, this is really good. I liked how Nick Cage's character played out. He was believable, and all of his actions were just extremely badass. But leading up to that moment is just very draining. Even after watching this movie and doing this review right now, I'm tired. It takes a lot out of you. It's an hour and a half of questions. And like, yes, I get the symbolism. Yes, I get the beauty. Yes, I get the avant-garde that they were going for, but it's not necessarily for me. And there's a specific type of people who really want this style of film where it's more artistic and there's deeper meanings as to what's going on. And then they throw in some really cool revenge and some awesome practical effects. But it's just too long. There's too much going on, and it's really hard to sit through and watch it. It's a good movie. It's just hard to take in. So with that being said, I'd give this film 2.5 favorite planets out of 5.
I like Galactus.
Galactus isn't a planet.
Yeah, but he eats planets.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.